Congress can't move forward and have like a national inquiry or something, or the Justice Department is not prosecuting, police departments is not actually doing something on the legal front to actually stop this. Politicians don't care, or maybe their interests are preventing them from actually moving forward and making change. And the other thing is that there's still racism that America cannot face. 400 years of whatever lynching and killing and slavery, and you still can't face your problems like, for example, Germany did with the Holocaust and with the Nazism and what happened there. They actually faced it, and they have museums and they teach it in schools. And they said this is what happened in our country, and we actually did an effort to reconciliate with each other and actually come together and build one united Germany. What in America you don't have that. Slavery happened, and people just forget. Just tell you get over it, forget about it, and it's not going to work that way. People still have are still kind of angry at each other. Some people hate each other, and it's because of what happened before. And if you can't face it and actually tell people this is what happened, this is the truth, we're going to get over it together, not just tell some people, get over it and we're going to forget you in the fringe of society, nothing's going to happen to change.
So just in response to that, we have to be careful about how we discuss things in slavery, and we also have to recognize that issues when it comes to race and oppression don't necessarily get eradicated, but they change their face over time. So slavery ended because it was at a point in time where it could no longer be sustained. It wasn't a moral compass decision. It wasn't, it's time for us to evolve as human beings. It could not be sustained. And after that, it turned into Jim Crow, and after Jim Crow, it turned into what we have today, so on and so forth. So I think it's important for us to recognize that this is just more of the same, but it looks different, right? This is not an increase in police shootings. This is not an increase in police shootings of unarmed Black people. It is a more televised, a more social media spread version of the same thing that we've had before. And so there's really no getting over it, but there is addressing the issue of fighting those systems of oppression that continue to plague our communities. And I think one way that I kind of mentioned this, we have to pay attention to what the media itself can do to us. Like I was talking to my friends this morning, they put a picture of a man that had nothing to do with the situation on the news. They were ready to ruin someone's life just to get away with something. And the same people who are partially the culprits, the people that were criticizing, are also the ones who are controlling the dialogue on an issue that they feel we don't have the right to know the full situation. It's absurd that we think that if you have an issue and it's between two parties, you only give that one party the voice in explaining what the issue is. That's not how our justice system has worked in any period of time. That makes sense. So you have to recognize what power what you watch on TV has, and really kind of criticize the sound bites of this is the worst attack on law enforcement since 9/11. And think about the small effect that mentioning even the word 9/11, even though I think it was around 72 cops were killed in 9/11 compared to 5, those things aren't put into detail. When they say they have a suspect that they feel that they have videos of who did it, and then they find out that that person was miles away talking to police officers while this event was going on, you have to pay attention to how that happens and really question. It kind of came off saying to Glenn, but question where the credibility is coming from, and what kind of accountability we have for those systems that we have in place today.
Just the whole situation itself really hit home to me, because being that was like 2.5 hours away from Houston, and having a brother in the military and him trying to go into the law enforcement department. And I just find it absurd how people think violence is going to solve something, how people think that killing other people is going to stop this killing that we have now, when in reality we should go out to vote and we should go out to do all these other political things to try and change the system, or you yourself try to speak out and try to do like activist things just so you can try and change the system for everyone else, but not having to rely on violence to get your message across.
Going off of what Scott said, there's a real problem with accountability, just like people going off and doing things and rampant, and then nobody gets held accountable at the end of the day. Like, we have videos of it happening, just dialogue, everything that you could need as evidence, but still nothing goes wrong. It's a very obvious flaw in the system. Like, a cop does something, who holds a cop accountable? Other cops who already know you, who are going to protect that over the other person who's already probably dead. So it's a real problem with transparency. And it also starts with each person. Like, you have to hold individual people accountable. You can't say, I want to change this about the system, but then you hear someone say something that is maybe offensive to somebody else or ignorant to a situation, and you don't say anything. That's perpetuating what's already happening. So it starts with you, but it starts with calling out other people. You can't be afraid to put your foot forward and say that's wrong.
What I also find very interesting, like, trying to bring what you're kind of saying, is that when people say Black Lives Matter, I don't know about you, but I don't think when I say Black Lives Matter means I don't like policing. In the same way when someone says Blue Lives Matter, I don't think it should be that Black people's lives don't matter. It should be in the same token that I can be both, for Black people and for police officers, because we still need them. But what really the issue is that when the bad apple, does the bad thing, we just want to make that person accountable. We're not saying that we don't like police officers, because when someone robbed my house, that's the person I'm going to call. I'm just saying the way you treated me the other day isn't right, and you shouldn't continue doing that without consequences. I don't know about you.
I think Black Lives Matter is the phrase refers to the fact how Black lives are not valued as equally as white. If the race roles were reversed, if a Black cop would ever shoot a white person like that, there's no doubt about it that he'd be thrown to jail. We've seen so many cases where white people just get away with it. Like George Zimmerman gets away with killing Trayvon Martin. Michael Brown, did the cop get away with it there? So it's not just that we hate police. It's just that we're as important as white people, and we should be valued to that extent.
That's my problem with it, is when you have guys on the corner maybe selling cigarettes, and I understand that's technically illegal, but should he die when you have another guy on video holding a gun, waving at innocent people and police, that he gets talked down and shot with a beanbag round, and then arrested? That's my problem.
It's also troublesome that a lot of people touch on it, just like they say in the media, no one touches on police training. So I think that would mediate that conversation that's not about I hate or I choose, but it's there's something wrong technically, and so there's something that needs to be reprogrammed in terms of how you train policemen, and then just knowing the history of convict policing and where the original idea of policemen, it was never to protect communities, it was to protect rich people's property, one of which were slaves. So I think no one is talking about the history of where a police officer even came from. It was never to protect communities, and I don't think either the system or the communities holding police officers accountable as to how do we change that narrative and how do we train you to do what we need you to do now, which is if someone gets robbed, we would really like your help at that point without being afraid for our lives if we are Black or brown. So I think that that's something that classrooms and the media needs to touch on, is go through the history of convict policing, allow people to understand where that history comes from and what the original purpose was and what purpose we need now, because it is state-sanctioned violence, it is murder. So I think that's why a lot of people feel like they have to choose. It's just a lot of rage right now, and kind of what Mara was saying, it's just a lot of confusion and pain.
I feel like
there's all these secret things that have happened. Well, not really secret, because you can like find them if you look for them, but they're kind of low-key things that happen that have attributed to all this occurring like now. Like for example, we went from slavery to the entire like neo-slavery period up to civil rights. So that entire neo-slavery period was, like Brendan said, convict leasing. And then in order to sustain not convict leasing anymore, but like prison farms and people working for free, they made drugs legal, right? And then after they made drugs illegal, like in 1994, there was something called the crime bill, which a lot of people don't really know happened. I don't know, I wasn't alive yet, because I was born in 97, but like these type of things continue to plague not only like society as a whole, but in specific the inner city, which is where a lot of these things are occurring, like, which is why when you see the media try to change everything, like let's say the man that was killed outside of the gas station for selling CDs, what's the first thing they did was put up a picture of a mugshot, right? But when my man from Stanford raped somebody, literally raped somebody, they put up his swim times and they put up my boy just like that's one of the problems with our society today, and that's why these things continue to happen. Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton were, in my opinion, two of the most detrimental people to the inner city, because they continue to put innocent, not even innocent, they might not have been innocent, but the way that they were convicted, let's say I'm walking with a hoodie on and you stop me and I have a dime bag on me, just even though it should be legal in theory anyways, and you stop me illegally, I'm gonna get in trouble for that, right? But how did this all happen? This happened because you let police officers do that. You let police officers call innocent people, innocent men of color, super predators. And until we try to change these rules that are already put in place.
One of the things that one of our viewers mentioned is that police training always puts the lives of police over the lives of the supposed criminals, and he believes that that's something that needs to change within police training as well.
My opinion on police training is that I feel bad for anybody that's like these black guys over like 5'10" or lift weights, because right now they're not even, just because there's a lot of big guys that I understand those people are pretty big, some cops are a little bit smaller, but do you need to wrestle him down or trying to break his arm and pull out a gun? Do you need a gun to restrain a man that's a little bit bigger than you? I feel like that should not be a necessity. They should be able to be trained to be able to take down somebody without having to use a weapon, especially if there's 4 of you guys. If there's 4 grown men, there's no reason you should not be able to restrain somebody that's not even trying to fight back. So I think that's something that they really should need to fix up.
And I think that's what Brendan was saying, that it's militarized. Why are the people that are supposed to help your community a military type of an organization? And I think that's what we're talking about, right? Because that's like what the problem with the core of this is, that we don't need our police to function in the way that they've been functioning for however many decades, right? Like, it's time to change that. And I think that's kind of what Vlad is saying too, with this whole like changing of policy. Like, the way that they're functioning and working is not right. Like, when I talked to my brother and I was like just asking him real questions about his like training in the police academy, I'm like, damn, that's so wrong. Like, why are they not teaching you how to problem solve and how to conflict resolution in a more amicable way, right? Why are you always taught to like to go straight to like the most violent way that you're gonna get it done the quickest? So I think like I just like every time I talk about this, it keeps coming back to that same thing of like the police function is not what it has always been. That's not what it should be anymore. And I don't know, I feel like people aren't talking about that. They're always just talking about like these two sides, right? And I think that's an issue. Like, that conversation is
I think real change is going to start from branding. It is from the inside. And honestly, we can go at them and say change your training, but it's going to change when police officers stand up for our side as well and say on the front lines of our protests and say, okay, well, this is wrong. You're not doing your job right. You don't deserve to wear this badge. Just like I saw the video today of a black female officer speaking out. I also saw about 2 hours later a bunch of articles saying that she was suspended for it. So when you have officers speaking out, very few that I see speaking out, they're penalized for this. So there needs to be, as we're uproaring and as we're rioting and protesting and fighting for change within the police system as they treat their citizens, there needs to be some change within the police system as well. We're going to yell at these other people and say, listen, we need to change, but they're going to listen to their own more than they're going to listen to us. We're going to say in front of a white person, you can't be racist, but if another white person comes along, they're going to want to listen to them more than they want to listen to us. It starts with from within, in all honesty. So I feel like every video I see of these protests in Baltimore, Ferguson, blah, 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 I see protesters facing police. But I never see police within the crowd actually working with the protesters to say, okay, I'm going to fight with you because this is what I believe is wrong. Every time there was a radio personality, I saw a video on Facebook, actually on my page if you want to look at it. The radio personality says the same exact thing. He was interviewing a police officer from the town that Alton was from, Baton Rouge. And basically the officer was not defending nor penalizing the officer that that actually shot the bullets, the two officers. He was neither penalizing nor defending. And he called them out. In all honesty, a lot of interviews I see with cops, especially police chiefs, do that. They're very neutral in the fact. They say, okay, well, he has a criminal past, but we're definitely investigating the thing at hand. All right, you're penalizing the victim for whatever past they may have, but in that instance, they were innocent. In that instance, they were an unarmed man killed, unarmed woman killed. So I really definitely think that it starts within, and we can yell at them all we want, but we need to also get officers on our side as well. Just like we have a family member in there as well. We need officers that are going to say, all right, well, we're doing our job right, and we're going to call out who is doing their job wrong.
That's very true. I feel like cops use this intimidation factor since everyone knows that they're here to serve and protect, but they don't follow the law. Like they don't let you have your rights, so they use this intimidation factor. Because I know personally, when a cop rolls by me and I'm just walking, I could be doing something normal. I'm like, damn, like I have to change the way I act for no reason, you know? Or when a cop stops in front of me, I'm like, fuck, like I'm just about to get messed with for no reason. Not only here, but back home, but just anywhere. Especially like when you're in a suburban area where cops want to ask you, why are you here? Like you don't have the God-given right and right in the Constitution to walk wherever you want, whenever you want. It's not a gated community, it's a sidewalk. It belongs to the public, right? And they use this negatively because as soon as they pull up to a scene and they see 4 people of color, you know, they're probably like, oh, it's go time. Like their heart starts racing and something's is definitely different than if they were to have to pull up to 4 white boys, you know? They probably pull out and they'll start talking to them. But if it's me, you, and him, and we're just sitting down on the porch, they pull out with their gun to their hip already. Like even here, like one time I was just standing outside at night with my boy, and my friend said something to somebody else, a white boy, right? And the cop stops, scourge, comes out and starts talking to me like I'm the one who said it for starters. And I feel like that type of thing is something that has to change, but the only way that it's gonna change is if we make it change. Especially like on this campus, I feel like we as a whole have to have some type of meeting with not only us, but like actual people who make something happen, you know what I mean? And that's the only way things are gonna change anywhere.
What I'm about to say might change the scope of this conversation, but we also have to address like our country's obsession with guns. And like the really strong defense against the Second Amendment, which is fine, but especially the way we talk about it today, it's like grossly overlooked what the actual Second Amendment says. Does anyone know what the Second Amendment says? Other than the right to bear arms, it's actually talking about the right for people to form a militia, and therefore every free state should be able to have like bear arms, which is like obviously tied to how the Revolutionary War occurred, and the fact that people were able to like defend themselves when they felt as though the state was not being represented. Right? But today we take it as each individual's right to like possess a weapon that can end someone else's life. And the atrocious part of it is that some people will say, well, other people have guns, we need guns to defend ourselves against those people with guns. And the best thing that people say is, I if someone comes into my house and tries to kill me, I won't be able to defend myself. And the statistics on that is just completely opposite of what they try to say. I mean, there are other countries that do it, like police officers that are on the street in Britain, they don't carry guns. Like, think about the idea of a police officer without a gun on his hip. And it's just baffling for Americans. And everywhere else, like, they look at this country and they're like, this does not make sense. Why Americans are so obsessed with guns. And the justification that always comes forth is that, well, if they have guns, we should be able to have guns. If they even have it on them, then we should be able to shoot them. I think that's how they get away with it every time. It's the idea of the possibility of a gun in someone's hands that always justifies the killing via that same weapon. And I think until we address that, I don't think gun violence is ever going to be stopped. Like, they're not making locks in the hood. You know what I mean? These things aren't being produced by us. These things are not being manufactured by being flooded into our communities. And it offers the justification for when police officers stop in the street and pack them and stop them first. Really things that infringe on our rights that we just take for granted.
Something else from the comments. Soldiers in wartime have had more strict rules of engagement than many police officers do. For example, in Iraq, soldiers aren't allowed to shoot unless previously shot at. And even though legally carrying a weapon here can get you killed, past crimes that have already been paid for should not be justification for losing your life.
That's absolutely right. When you look at Ferguson, you saw the riots. You see these police officers not looking like police officers. They look like soldiers. Like they were ready for war. And you see the civilians. All they got is like their cell phone at the most. And to me, it's like if you're going to dress like the military, you might as well act like the military. And they're more disciplined than you. You know? Why is it they have this whole code and all these regulations that if they misfire one time, their whole entire career is over. But for you, a police officer, and I'm not saying you're low or anything, like you have a responsibility for your community. That's what you're now sworn to do, right? Why is that? You can make a mistake and you can end someone's life, and there's no accountability. So yes, I totally agree with that. Why is that you can just go around like that? It makes me like go down the street. Like in my town, I'm fortunate that my police officers are not so quick to shoot, but I can't qualify that that's every police officer. Why can I not do that? Why is it now when I walk in my own neighborhood, though I saw what happened in Baltimore, now I have to think Baltimore cop could be the cop on my street. Why do I have to fear that the good cop that had a good conversation will go through my high school and was also a part-time janitor could one day be like, I'm sorry, you were black. I need to put a bullet in you because I wasn't sure if you had a gun.
We don't even hold cops the same standards we hold civilians to. Like, he had a gun on him, and we expect him to be more reasonable, more responsible, more calm in that situation than we expect the police officer to be. And you understand what I'm saying? People, as soon as a cop shoots someone, they ask if he's armed, and if he's armed, it's his fault. But he's allowed to be armed by the same Second Amendment right that we were talking about before. And he's not supposed to have as much training as a cop. The cop is the one who's supposed to be calm. The cop's supposed to be the one who's supposed to handle the situation, not the civilian, not the victim. The cops get a lot more leeway than your average victim.
You know, I was really thinking about this one day, and like my nephew's just so happened to be watching TV. And you guys remember the show Cops that came on? And all of a sudden I had this like epiphany of like, well, damn, that's why these cops act the way they do, because when they were growing up, you know, like you think about how old these people are, cops was a real thing. And you think about the shows and like what you were saying with the media, like certain things that they grew up learning about, especially like think about where this is happening in the South a lot more than here in the North. Like yes, there's been instances, but it's just like you start to think about those things, and I think Scott has a really big point that like the media is really like brainwashing us. Like you watch Cops and you almost start to like laugh at it and like engage with it, and you have to step back and be like, whoa, wait, that was so aggressive. unnecessarily aggressive. Like, this woman was just driving and like intoxicated. We did not need someone to pull her out of her car that way, you know? Or it's even just like little things like that that I started like noticing in the media lately. And when Scott said that, it kind of like made me think of that. That it's like, wow, like we really are like showing kids really bad things. I don't know. That was just like a silly thing that crossed my mind.
We're just like sheep being herded. It's like, it's all part of, I mean, this is going to sound like a conspiracy theory, but it really is like part of a plan or something like that. Like there's something that we're not in on, but they're getting us. Like how, literally yesterday I was watching a lecture and it was an hour lecture and it took me 3 hours to watch it just on social media. And like I'm through media and stuff like that, and I think, I mean, they start young. Like it's even in cartoon shows like cops and stuff like that. So like I think anything like we should just like we've all trace things and like we have to just stop believing it because like half that shit probably isn't even true. Since that day, I don't even watch the news to be honest. Like I'll go on like trust. I'll go on BBC for all I care. Like that's world news. Like they'll probably have like an outside perspective, you know. So I don't know. I think it's sad. Like we're all controlled in some way, shape, or form, and we don't even know.
Last straw for me because like what Trayvon Martin happened and what's the name? Who? All the other stuff happened. I was just blind to the story. I felt like all that happened. This go happen. Seen happen. And I was thinking after that incident happened, I was like, this is really real. I'm in a society where people of my color are getting shunned on for no reason. And I'm like, I've been thinking for the longest, I'm like, this is not right. Why are we the one getting shot at, discriminated? We are getting our jobs taken away for no reason. And like, it just made me really contemplate about like, the society is trying to, like you said, control us, saying that the white man is this high and being, and everybody else is just, you know what I mean? And like, it's just confusing to know, for me, that my whole entire life, all up until this point that I was lied to, and it's like, just hard for me to take it in because as soon as I heard it, I called my brother, my cousin, and my dad, and I was like, yo, be safe out here, man, because they can take your life away any second, any moment, you know? And it's crazy for me to know that this kept happening. This is happening over and over and over again. And I was researching 1999, I did not know the dude's name. He was somewhere in New York. He was just walking across the street. And a couple of policemen went up to him. I don't know, like long story short, he was shot 41 times.
His name is Amadou Diallo.
Yeah, shot 41 times. Because they thought he had a gun on him. It was just walking. It was just a fucking walking. And he shot 41 times. And none of the people was convicted of anything. And this is the same old. And for me, I'm tired of it. Real talk. I'm tired of this shit. Myself, we can't do it by ourselves. We need something for real. And it's
I feel like they say America has come a long way just because we no longer have like slavery or like overt forms of racism. But now like the problem's deeper and harder to change because it's like subliminal racism. It's like people's perceptions as soon as they see colored skin. That's where the problem is. Like police officers, as soon as they see colored skin, like Vlad was saying, they automatically want to pull out their guns. They automatically want to be fearful and assume that that's going to be someone in a gang, someone who's going to hurt them, just because that's the way they perceive people of color. And it's like sad, but like.
The problem was we thought things changed. after the Civil War, we kind of just accepted the fact that slavery is on the down, maybe even completely gone at this point. But the truth is, it's not gone. These shootings aren't new. This tragedy we're talking about, for some people, it's a reality. And what matters is our voices, how much we care, and what do we want to do about it. So, we have a lot of grief, a lot of disappointment with our society. Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. And when we look at a fellow human being committing such an atrocious act, we say, did we give him too much credit? Did we empower him enough and trust him enough that he was able to let us down on such a grand scale? And I think that's exactly what's happening. Slavery is not gone. If you go up to an uneducated black man and give him a credit card and he abuses it and then finds himself in grave debt, he's now a slave. He's a slave to actions that he didn't even know about. Slavery is not gone. These killings, they're not going to end today. But what I can tell you is that it's all about the future. It's all about the seeds that we decide to plant. It's all about each and every one of you coming here to gather to talk about the issue. It doesn't take anything for you to stay in your rooms. It doesn't take anything at all. But you decided to come here. It's so hot outside. And you decided to come here. That's what matters. But that's the baby step. We have to keep talking about it. These people serve us. They can't go against us. Matter of fact, we put them there. Each and every one of them. We have to talk about it to ourselves, to our friends, to our family. It has to become a branch. It has to form a power. A power stronger than the evil that is perpetrating outside. I'm just proud of everyone that's here today to keep talking about this issue, because it's not going to go away tomorrow. It will go away. And my God, it will be a great day. It will be a great day.
So I got a comment from Sunny from the live stream. So she said, something I realized when speaking to friends about this is that people tend to push back when we bring up race or the people that are killed. When you call these cops racist, they say, how do you know that there's no proof? There are studies that black children are seen as older and more dangerous than white children of the same age. When there are studies that prove that people have bias against black people and see them as more dangerous than others, then there's a problem, and that is why we can't keep race out of the conversation, especially when black people are killed again and again for nonviolence. Again and again for nonviolence, sometimes even no crime at all, and the killers get to walk free. We need to talk openly about these biases, why they exist, how they come about, and talk about ways to get rid of them.
I feel like the reason is because people are scared of the truth. A soft society where anything you say is gonna be judged. Like people are scared to say how they feel. You know what I mean? Like you're having a conversation at lunch and somebody brings up what happened, and she said, and people are like, oh well, like that could have been anybody. That could have been a white. No, it's never a white guy. It's almost never a white guy. It's always a man of color. It's almost always gonna be somewhere in the place determined as like a hood or a ghetto or somebody illegal stuff. Like people are just so like fucking soft nowadays that anytime you bring up something as the truth, and that's how you just have to live. You have to just say how you feel and let people know that these types of things are happening. You know what I mean?
So shouldn't we like push for this to be a part of like the freshman introduction?
It definitely should. Like this prelusion thing is fucking bullshit.
Like no, but like honestly, like this is something that has really like bugged the hell out of me since freshman year. How is it that we talk about these books that we have to read all summer, but Jim Crow is never one of those books, or whatever the hell is going on in the nation is one of those books? You know what I mean? And then like secondly, you're in a freshman orientation where you're looking around with people that immediately look like you, and that one kid that doesn't look like you is hell uncomfortable. And how is it that we never address that? Like I feel like if anything changed, first of all, at Lehigh, you have to like definitely make that a part of like the freshman orientation. Yeah. So then why isn't it part of it? You know what I mean? Like
they said one thing, yo.
So like, why hasn't it changed?
Whoa, chill.
Yo, one talk at a time, yo.
Chill.
Wait, where was it brought up? Because now I'm really curious.
Personally, FBR.
Right.
It was one of the core things that we spoke about. It's been brought up, and I know it's not the first or the last.
Yeah, and I know for me personally, I've talked to a lot of the vice provosts, like Vice Provost Dean, about actually implementing something like that in the first year experience during orientation. And I'm one voice, like, and while one voice can go a long way, I think if we all, I mean, like FPR did a lot of that too, but I think we need to make a stand and we need to say that we're not going to quit until something actually happens, because a whole lot of us speaking individual to individual people, we're not going to get anywhere, as we've seen. So,
and granted, we can't change the world, but we can change a lot of the people that come through this institution that are going to go out into the world and going to go be the great leaders that Lehigh advertises and creates. Then, like, we need to make that change, honestly. Like, everybody in this room, and, like, I don't know.
I also think like something that like the three of you said that kind of made me understand something. Like for example, fortunately I'll be able to teach English 1 in the fall, and like we brought it up to the English professors because everybody has to kind of follow the same syllabus, and the department kind of gives us a pushback, just like prelusion, because English 1 is another opportunity where you don't get an orientation or prelusion. Like if they're in your classrooms, those who don't like, you know, test out of the English classes, we have an opportunity to talk about this. But a lot of times, I don't know, it's a department, but it's also my other colleagues who don't think that these are important topics. And Lucy felt some of that this period where only one professor wanted to talk about it. And so I feel like what you guys are saying is maybe the provost or administration won't like back it up, but if like 1 or 2 or 3 teachers choose to like pretty much say fuck what the department needs us to do, this is what we have to do for our community, I feel like that's where it can start. It has to be at the grassroots level. I think like history has taught us, and if we really grab that education and study, it's always at the grassroots level when sort of like a small number of folks choose to do something about it.
And I almost think that we're at a beautiful point in Lehigh's time where there's not a turnover, right? Sharon Bassett just left. So who is it not to say that we can raise our voices? Right, and but what I'm saying is, like, it's time for us to push an agenda and say that we want the new vice provost, whoever the hell is coming into Lehigh next, to be an understanding person to like these types of issues. If not, they're gonna hire another person who might not be understanding to these things, or who doesn't want these things to get pushed forward. You know, but, like, I don't know how we can necessarily do that, but I think we need to find a way to do that.
We like well, Arsenio told us that apparently we can. So me and a few of the other people in MOCA emailed like Arsenio, and he put us to Dr. Odie too, and they said that they're like gonna email us about possibly doing it. But I feel like that's just kind of like yeah, we'll think about it.
I think sorry, you weren't done.
No, I'm not.
Sorry. I think another tangible way, I mean, this just came to me as students. Well, every freshman first year has to go to 5x10s. And I think it would be great for this office, MOCA, Circle of Sisters, to literally just hold a bunch of 5x10s that hold every part of Blueprint, so that we can, because every freshman has to go. And they're going to have to come to at least 1 or 2 if we really just infiltrate the system through that, because anyone can hold a 5x10. I know MSA holds 5x10s, BSU probably does. Like, if we just work as a collective, we could get C2O involved. Like, that's a lot of organizations. Like, if we just start there, that's something small, but like at least we could get the first years thinking in a sort of way. Even if they don't come, they'll see what the title of each thing is and say, like, know that that's on the radar. Because, like, to be honest, like, this next fall is going to be scary on this campus, especially with Trump. Like, that's just the way it is. And like, if we don't do something about it now, like as people of color, like collectively, like we're gonna fall apart. So I think that as for Circle of Sisters, I can work with Esther, like we can come up with 2 programs. Dr. Ryan and I can work together for MSA. Like, I'm down to do it. I have all summer. Like, I'm sure MOCA will do it as well. But I think if we do it and like house it under OMA, like that would be a good start. That's just an idea that just came to me. So.
Right. I like the point that you brought up about collectively. That's like, I don't know, I think it's just, some people don't really take it that serious, but doing things in numbers matter. For example, I took English 1 and the conversation of race was brought up. It was me and a girl from the Middle East, and then everybody else was white. So like, I was definitely outnumbered in English 1, and I definitely felt uncomfortable. I had to defend my viewpoint because a lot of these people people did not understand my background, did not understand what I had to do to get here, thank God. But it's definitely like when you're outnumbered, it is so much harder. And I think collectively, that's such a big point to actually like emphasize on, is that we have to do this with the numbers that we have. If we all stand together, if we all actively do these activities, or you mentioned that we all made it here. When you hear about something like this, when you hear about something that can bring this campus together, it's not blacks against whites, it's not brown versus, it's everybody together, like living under the same community with the same rights and same expectations. So I think doing it together and actively doing it is so important, because numbers speak a lot, and if we can stick together and actively do this, I think our message, our voice can actually be heard. Instead of fighting as individuals, we fight as a unit for our voices to be heard.
The reason why I feel like none of this is happening is because the office don't want none of the white kids or their money to be uncomfortable. Once they're uncomfortable, they go back off. It's all about this money stuff. Like, it wouldn't really, like, if, let's say, like, you said, you went up to them and told them, we need to have this, we need, like, if we already the same thing, we need to have this, we need to have this, you know?
I would argue against that, but I want you to.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, that we want to have this, we want to have this, but they would think like, oh, we don't want our kids to feel uncomfortable, making them feel like they're racist and stuff. And I don't want them to feel like, oh, they don't want to come here because they don't need, like, y'all know what I'm getting here? I feel like the reason why none of this stuff is really happening is because of people, the majority feeling comfortable with what we want. If it's not their way, it's the highway. You know what I mean?
You got the other direct thing, so you go ahead.
I just think that like sometimes we like overthinking. I think we give people too much credit with that stuff. I don't think that they're fighting as hard to like keep it away from us as we are. Like just being here for 4 years and knowing the way things turn out, like it's an issue of being collective. It's not, because when a couple students come together and stick to it, things happen. Like it happens, but we're and I don't want to like turn blame on like our community, because that's not what I'm trying to go. But I'm saying like if you say this stuff, like especially with freshmen coming in, like do it. Like there's nothing else to say but just do it. Like there's too many opportunities to do it. Like you know firsthand of how it can be hard, but at the same time simple to think of something and then get it done. A lot of the freshmen from last year are testaments to that. There's absolutely no reason that you should sit here and have these ideas and be appalled at like the bullshit that goes on here and you don't do something about it. So like, don't give them as much credit. I don't think Provost Sparrow, I know Provost Sparrow. I know he is not sitting in there like, no, we don't like him. We're not gonna do it. Like, he is willing to listen. Like, we sat there like my sophomore year and beat this guy up. Like Literally right there. The room was double the size that it is right now. We beat this guy up quietly next to him. And they had to do something about it. Don't sit back and act like it's too hard to do. That's all.
Do you have a comment on passion?
Sure. So Professor Cassie Johnson says, if you won't change, you have to keep pushing. Brenda is exactly right. Know your Lehigh history. In 2006, students formed the movement. In 2012, it was FDR. Both movements demanded some type of first-year academic diversity experience. And every time the leadership has changed, students have graduated, and it has been swept to the side with new presidents and provosts. You have to be vigilant. You have to organize and be consistent. I've seen humongous shifts at Lehigh when it comes to race. Emoja House, Africana Studies program, hiring more diverse faculty, but you must continue to fight. And to DT, it has happened. It will continue to happen as long as all of you band together and commit to demanding change.
I also like that Cassie spoke up, because another part of the collective, it's not just the students, but it's our professors, it's Arsenio and Margarita, and it's people like Tyrone who aren't physically here but are. And I think something that we also forget is Miles, ET, and I have been working on a documentary, and we had the opportunity to go to San Francisco State, which was the first Black Studies program in the nation. And when we learned about their history and how they were able to create like a field and a department, it was all through protests and it was all through collective grassroots, but they also included their community. It also included like Brockville and Bethlehem and Allentown. Like I think, so when we say collective, I hope that we're all conscious that collective isn't just Lehigh students, because although we are Black and brown or however we identify, we still have privilege as Lehigh students, and we have to use that privilege that maybe some other people outside of this circle don't have. And so I really hope that with the collective, we can get the community involved and it can be a bigger push.
And what I was going to say, speaking of the collective, I think it's so important for us to remember that we are not the only ones who feel the way we feel. There are so many people outside of Lehigh, nationwide, who have the same views and the same pains that we have. So I think sometimes when we are having conversations with our friends who don't understand, typically they are white, but we do have our friends of color who also just don't understand. And I think it's so important for us to not just like get stuck on how can you not see that I'm right, but also directing them to places where they can see facts. Like, facts are so important. You can sit there and argue till the sun comes up about why they should care about these things and that yes, racism is still a thing, but some people just won't believe you. But if you can point them to like research that has been done, it's like, hey, I'm not crazy, I'm not making this up. Go read it on your own. Like, this isn't something that's just coming out of my head. Go talk to so and so about it. Like, we need to use our networks more. We need to use the minds that have put theses and who have put so many wealth of knowledge out there. We need to direct people who just won't listen to us to that vast knowledge. Just because like it's hard to do it all on your own, and we also have to remember we have to lean on each other. And I think sometimes we drop the ball on that as a community. We forget. Some people just get swept aside, and some people just don't feel like they'll be accepted, or they don't feel like they can talk to different people in the community. So I think as a community, we need to do a better job of making sure that we are there for each other. Like, Leah was in my class this year, and it was about racism and ethnicity in the Americas. And she was the only other person of color with me. And it was just like, I know for me walking into that class, like I was just like, okay, at least I have one person who's going to be on my side, like in this class. And it's been really cool for me to talk to her about like how she's been feeling, like how she felt throughout the class, and like the emotions that rose up for her. And like at the end of the class, like her saying like, I'm glad that like I'm not the only one who's like feeling this way, and I'm glad that like you're a senior and you survived like this Lehigh experience. And I don't know, I think for me, like sometimes I know I have the tendency to do it. I just kind of close myself off. I'm like, I gotta do me. But we can't just do us. Like you can't just do you. You have to help someone else. Like someone helped you out, so you have to help someone else out. And I don't know, like we said, we gotta do it together. We can't do it alone because we fall apart. I know I do.
I feel like it also comes down to like being knowledgeable about your surroundings. Like I took a class with Dr. Peterson called Black Lives Matter, which is where like everything changed because he made us read different types of books. He made us think in a new way, and that's what you have to, I feel like, force upon maybe your friends. Like it's okay to have friends with different opinions than you, because that's like friendship is like a bond. It doesn't matter if you're different; you can still be friends with someone. Now, the more you tell them about these types of things, and the more they can like pass it forward, and before you know it, now you started a conversation, started a dialogue. Now people are actually talking about the things that matter. Like just how we do with social media. Like people wouldn't have known about the Philando Castile thing probably if his wife hadn't started doing it on like Facebook. So the more you pass things along, the better it's gonna get.
A lot of the I'm from the Lehigh Valley area, and it's kind of cool to see a lot of the sentiment that I see within this room, like this need for change, is also echoed within youth, like the youth that I hang out with within the valley. So, and the idea that we're talking about collective power, I mean, resources are available within 15 to 20 miles, even radius within Lehigh. The thing is, like, living in the valley all my life, I've never really seen any activism from the university ever extend into the actual valley. I feel like if that change occurs, like I see a lot of potential here, and I feel that that potential can be transformed within the entire valley area, and that's really the first step to change. Because right now we're focusing within the university, but we can control a geographic region by stepping outside the borders, up just South Bethlehem area.
So because you say that, I would encourage them, like, I know we try, I think someone's having another meeting with them, right?
Yeah.
He posted that. Like, why don't we go out there? I have a car, I'll take 5 people with me. Why don't we go out there? That's like the first step that we could, a lot of us could take of like showing support and like being there as like, we might not be able to like directly impact something, but we're going there to show our presence. So like, I'm down to go, anybody else who's trying to go, let me know.
We're done to take all the Lucy
My
kids.
father.
We're done to take all the Lucy kids.
Just to know, City Hall is just across the bridge, not that far.
Oh, true. Anyone got a block?
So, like I'm saying, like, we're lucky we're in the city. We're lucky we're in a place where, again, Lehigh and in the city of Bethlehem, we're in a place where it's so small that we can know so much and so big that we can learn so much. So we have the access to go to City Hall because when you go to Main Street and you spend your money at those expensive restaurants, you can easily save your money and talk to an official to make some real change because you can lobby your congressman all you want. You can't change the law what happens in the city. You know, you go right to that level, and these people are going to listen. You know why? Because Lehigh is a pride of Bethlehem. All right. So like someone from Lehigh University coming to talk, they'll listen to you. You know, and it's not that you come with anger. You don't come with so extra passion. You really sit down with them. You really have that conversation, and something will be done if you continue and you bring someone else with you, bring someone younger with you to continue the information.
And activism takes many forms. Like you said, there are different levels to it. Like a lot of some of you might have work study. Like sometimes it just takes talking to a kid and see yourself, like tutor, and like just talking about some real stuff that's going on because they definitely have opinions on this stuff. So just recognize that there are different levels and there are different levels in which you get affected.
I think a big piece of critique that I love seeing like everyone is very passionate about it, but also making sure, I know this isn't Margaret, I've learned a lot from Margaret, is just making sure you take care of yourself too. Like I know I didn't watch the second video because like I knew I couldn't emotionally take it and like having to take a step back from social media and I hung out with my cat and I kind of colored for a little bit because like I needed to do something for me because all of this work and all these conversations can be so draining sometimes and kind of knowing it's okay to take that time and also taking that time with other people. That can really look like just having a kickback at someone's house and hanging out or going for a walk or doing anything, just making sure that through all of this you're also taking care of yourself because you can, I don't know if you're a Margaret says that you can't fill up others when you're empty yourself. So it's making sure everyone's doing that.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because on one note we do have to start wrapping up the discussion because they want to lock up this building soon, and but I do want to say like everyone here, you've made an impact by coming out here today, and there's no reason that you cannot continue this impact every single day after this. There's no reason that we as a group of people cannot organize and cannot make changes within our campus, within our city, within the county, within the state, within this country. There's no reason that we can't do that. Okay? Every single person in here has that power, has that ability. Okay? And as Gladys said, keep in mind that self-care is extremely, extremely important. Okay? Never sacrifice your mind. Because that's the only thing that's going to be getting you through this. Okay. You have something to say?
There's another discussion in here on Monday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so for Margarita for the Office of Multicultural Affairs, I think it's 12. It's at 12 and it'll be in here and it speaks to what Gladys was talking as well as Ornella because I know when I heard you talk it sounded like not just say as a collective to organize but like when you need to like vent or kind of lean on someone to be that collective and I think Margarita and the office really wants to provide that space on Monday. It'll be in here at 12.
And I would really recommend people going to that because there's also going to be staff and faculty there. I know I was here when they had a discussion about what happened in Orlando, and there was just kind of discussion, for example, about how the school hadn't made any comments about what happened, and it wasn't until someone in this room said we feel hurt by Lehigh because they have not made a comment about what happened in Orlando, and then over 30 minutes later, there was an email sent. So even just the fact that there's new faculty and staff and they like see the hurt, they see your feelings, they see that there's a very valid, it makes an impact on them and what they need to hear.
The last comment that came through, which I encourage you to think about if you're going to Monday's discussion, is actually was being at the top of the LEP when it starts here. You're going through your student lehigh, and when you're talking about law enforcement, they're the first ones you see when you walk up here. So one thing to think about is, all right, well, do you feel safe? Do you feel like they're protecting you? Relations are strong, weak, indifferent. There's things to think about when you're going through this next discussion. Bring up is here at our lehigh home, or at least PD on campus. How do you feel about them? Just think about that when you're going through this discussion.
And just going off of Cash's comment, I think it's important to also understand that this is literally how FPR started. All we said was, who wants to do something about it? Here's the first meeting, and people came. And it's like, okay, but who's going to do something about it and want to get all the orgs together and want to grab the bands to go do like the actual logistical and start to do it and take action? The second meeting, it dwindled, and that's why there was only what, 7 of us. And so I hope that we can plan another meeting, hopefully with a better time before lockout, and that all of us show up with a friend or two, because that's really how that got started. And I think with this number, a lot more can happen.
So, you have a final comment?
Just kind of, I think it's important that everyone in this room more or less agrees at the very least that there's a problem, but not all of our friends might agree that there's a problem. And the conversation is to bring, it's important to bring the conversation with those people, because it's not as malicious as you might think. Like, some people just don't have the same perspective as you, and they haven't experienced the problems, they don't understand that it exists. So the conversation in this room is good, but to be honest, it's more useful if you talk to someone who doesn't understand the same way that you do, or doesn't understand, hasn't had the same experiences that you've had.
I want to commend MOCA for bringing this conversation together. I really appreciate that. You explain what MOCA is.
Yeah, so MOCA, M-O-C-A, stands for Men of Color Alliance. It's a group for the underrepresented males on this campus. There's also a group for women, it's called Circle of Sisters, with the same purpose. For you kids in Lucy, you know, you can ask your TAs about that, they'll know about it too, so that conversation continues as well. It's definitely, it's a support group, it's a group for action, it's a group for getting people through things, it's a group for change, it's a group for everything, right? MOCA is whatever it is that you want it to be. And keep in mind that even though the three of us are up here today, we don't run MOCA. Alright? Frankie as well. We don't run MOCA. MOCA is a group by people, for people, by you guys, for you guys. Alright? So if you want to come in and you have some great ideas, even DT can tell you. He was a freshman last year, and he ran an entire meeting, you know, as a first year student. Alright? By you, for you. So keep that in mind.
Thank you all for coming. Hope to see you on Monday. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe.
Take some water. Stay hydrated.
Drink water.
Yeah, we've got like 45 minutes. My God. The button's on the Instagram, by So, thank you guys for coming out and joining our discussion, and thank you for the people who participated through the comment section, whether it was through here or through Facebook, and hopefully we can continue conversations like this in the future. Take care of yourselves.